Hey guys, today we are going to be installing Windows onto Hyper-V. Hyper-V, as you may know, is Microsoft's built-in hypervisor for Windows 10, and in fact all versions of Windows dating back to Windows 8, I believe. But yes, it's a built-in hypervisor and it works a little bit differently compared to, say, VMware, which I also have down here. It's a type 1 hypervisor, which in contrast to type 2 hypervisors like VMware, on Mac you got VirtualBox, Parallels, those kind of hypervisors. Type 1 hypervisors provide more direct access to the physical hardware on your computer and exposes that level of access to your VMs. So, compared to a type 2 hypervisor, a type 1 hypervisor could be faster and more efficient at utilizing your hardware resources. Okay, so with that in mind, or with that said, I guess, let's get right into creating a virtual machine on Hyper-V. But before we can jump into that, if we open Windows R, let's take a look at optional features. Just type optional features and Windows features will pop up. Or you can search in the search bar, turn Windows features on or off to get this dialog box. So what you're gonna do to get Hyper-V on your system, because it's built in, it's a Windows feature, you have to check that this box next to Hyper-V is checked. And if you haven't checked it, just check it, hit OK. It will prompt, Windows will say that it's preparing some files and applying some changes, just let it spin. And after a while, or after reboot, it may ask you to reboot. After reboot, you'll see that Hyper-V is accessible through the search bar, or you can manually browse through all your apps through the start menu. Anyways, once you are in Hyper-V Manager, what you want to do is under the Action tab, hit New, and then you'll see Virtual Machine. Create that. And it will give you a wizard that guides you through the whole process. So before you begin, you might want to read that. Those are the basic instructions of what buttons to click when. And then when you are ready, hit next. Now you'll be given a location to store the virtual machine and the option to give a virtual machine a name. We're just gonna name it test for the purposes of this video. And because I've set my default store location to my D drive, the VM directory of my D drive, it's gonna default to that. Now, the default location can be set using Hyper-V settings, but I'm not gonna go into that tab right now. We're just gonna proceed with the creation of the new virtual machine. Now, it's going to ask us to choose the generation of the virtual machine. Generation 1 supports older hardware or older standards like IDE and other stuff. And Generation 2 gives you access to UEFI, all the newer stuff. So I'm just going to choose Generation 2. And note that once you create this virtual machine, the generation cannot be changed. So I guess think about what tier of hardware or what age of hardware you want to run and what age of software you want to pair it with, and choose carefully. Once you are done with that, hit next. Now this page, well, is the memory allocation page. So same with VMware, it supports dynamic memory allocation, which means it's gonna give the virtual machine exactly what it needs when you set a max limit higher than what it needs. So say you set 8 gigabytes, right? 8 gigabytes maximum memory, and you use dynamic memory allocation. When the virtual machine is running something that only takes 4, it will give the virtual machine 4 instead of 8 to save on resources on your host machine. So I'm not going to do that because I want the virtual machine to have its own memory and have the memory always available to that virtual machine instead of shrinking and expanding and shrinking and expanding and so on and so forth. I'm gonna give it let's give it 8 gigabytes of memory, And yeah, when you are done assigning the memory, click next. Now we gotta configure networking. So we're gonna click the connection drop down and choose a switch. Now if you don't have switches set up, you can do that in Virtual Switch Manager, also in the action pane. Just click on there and choose a switch that you want to add. And once you added that, if you go back to this menu, you'll see that the switch is available here. So just choose a switch. I'm gonna choose host switch because that's connected to my pfSense box. And when we hit next, we can choose to connect a virtual hard disk or not, or we can choose the third option, which is to connect one later. But we're gonna create one right now and connect it to the virtual machine. So test VHDX, you can give it some other name, but I'm just gonna go with that. And you can also set a size. Let's just do 256 gigabytes. That should be plenty for this machine and our installation. Oh right, if you got an existing virtual hard disk, you can also choose that here and then browse to that location of the virtual hard disk and just click OK. But I'm gonna create one, so let's hit next. On this following page, it will ask you to select your installation option for your operating system. Now you can choose to install an operating system later, or you can choose to install an operating system through a network-based installation server. Of course, we don't have that. So for today's purposes, we are going to install using an ISO that I have on my host machine. So I'm just gonna browse the files, and when we find it, we're gonna click on it. For this install, we are gonna be using Windows 10 22H2 that I have in my downloads folder. So after I choose that, click next. Now it will give you a summary of all the settings, or not all the settings, but a preview to all the settings that you have set for this virtual machine. So we have name test, generation 2, memory, however much you set, network, again, whatever switch you gave it, and then its hard disk file, so on and so forth. Operating system will be installed from this ISO. And when you click finish, this machine will be created, and the generation here is the only thing that is not post changeable. So make a note of that. But when we are ready, click finish, and it will create the virtual machine for you. Okay, now let's just power the virtual machine on for a second and show you guys one of the major differences Hyper-V has compared to VMware. Now this page that you see right here on the screen is a remote desktop connection. Therefore, there's no way from this page that we can access the virtual machine's BIOS. And also as a byproduct, it's unlikely that we can catch the press any key to boot from CD or DVD prompt unless we are in the connection page when we press the turn on button. Now, with that said, we still do have some access to the virtual machine from this page. So let's talk through a little bit of that. From the top pane here, we have our power buttons. So turn off, shut down, and sleep. And from the action pane, we got, well, the same power buttons, but with pause and reset as a bonus. And checkpoint. Checkpoint is a feature similar to VMware's snapshot feature. It lets you restore the VM to a prior state if you have a checkpoint at that stage. Well, anyways, going back to this, a virtual machine boot summary, of course it failed because it tried to boot from IPv4, but we don't have IPv4 configured. So, to change the boot sequence, because it's using a remote connection to connect to the virtual machine, you cannot actually access the BIOS if you hit like delete F2 or something else. So, to change the boot sequence, in case you run into such an error, just shut down. Actually, just power off the virtual machine because the necessary drivers aren't installed yet for it to properly shut down through this command. So just turn it off. That is a hardware level turn off, so it will always go successfully. And also, while we are in the settings menu, we are going to change the number of processors available to the virtual machine. We are going to give it like 4. All right. And we're gonna take a look here, firmware. Here's where you can change the boot sequence, not when you connect to the virtual machine, because as I said earlier, you cannot enter the BIOS from there. It's a remote connection, not a hardware level display connection. So we are gonna choose to boot from DVD drive first, and then we're going to choose to boot from DVD drive first. And when you're done with that, I guess I hit cancel on the last one, so the processor change disappeared. When you're done with that, hit apply. Make sure you're happy with the changes. And when it starts, you want to, in order to cache the press any key to boot into CD DVD, you gotta be actively connected to the virtual machine and do it from this page instead of doing it from this panel without connecting to the virtual machine. Once you are booted up into the Windows installation ISO, the process is pretty much the same as just installing Windows on any regular computer. After hitting install now, just click I don't have a product key, unless you want to enter a product key, of course, and choose an edition of Windows. Agree to the license terms, and choose a custom location to install Windows. That will of course be your virtual disk that you created earlier or that you connected earlier, and you are off to the races. Okay, and after a while it will prompt you the regular stuff, selecting a region and keyboard and stuff. So just click through those menus as usual, as you would installing it on hardware. Here, if the network switch you connected earlier has access to the internet, the network stage of the setup will proceed automatically. And if it prompts you to select the network, that means your existing switch that you connected to the VM isn't working, and it's a good time to check that. Again, just regular setup stuff. Setup for personal use. Click offline account if you don't want to sign into your Microsoft account, or enter your Microsoft account credentials. Hit next. But I'm just gonna do an offline account for now. Limited experience. If you are choosing offline account, give it a admin name. Next. And a password. Now, a neat thing about Windows 10 is you don't actually need to enter a password. If you are willing to leave your computer unsecured, or I guess in this case, leave your VM unsecured, click next. And there you go. Now with Windows 11, you'll have to use some kind of tool to bypass that, whether that will be Rufus, NT Lite, or some combination of both. If you want to see how to create your own custom Windows ISO, click on the pop-up banner above to go check out that video. And here again, choose the privacy settings that you need, that you want. I'm just gonna take off all of them. And then choose the experiences you need, although this page isn't really that helpful actually. So I'm gonna skip it. Now, as the last stage of setup, it will ask you whether to enable Cortana. I'm just gonna choose not now, but again, feel free to choose whatever you like. And after you click that, it will head into the "we are getting everything ready for you" page, and all you have to do is just sit around and wait. Now, before we are taken to our desktop, it will ask us what screen resolution we would like to connect to the virtual machine with. Because this is not a physical connection, it's a network connection, we are allowed to choose whatever resolution we like. for the connection. And after you hit connect, the virtual machine, the remote virtual machine, will scale to whatever resolution you set. Because it's remote, you can actually see here the connection of your remote desktop connection to this virtual machine. And other than that, it's not that much different from VMware. VMware just gives you, or other type 2 hypervisors, just give you a lot more control over the virtual machine's hardware through this, usually through this top panel. But as you can see, we don't actually have any control here. We are connected remotely. We don't have access to the virtual machine's hardware at all from this page. So, that's it for our installation of Windows. As you can see, this is a properly functional Windows system. And yes, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more content like this in the future, be sure to click that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on your notifications to not miss out on any future uploads. Other than that, thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one.